Kind of audio sounds good. Hey, shalom, shalom, akiyam. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. I would also like to give a double honors to the beloved elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. I would also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 men of Israel, which consists of the servants, the prophets, whom have been ordained since the foundations of this earth to sing this new song, which comes in the form of this gospel, which will be preached throughout all four corners of this earth and rest upon the ears of the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children of Israel, who may be scattered throughout all four corners of this earth. Shalom. A shalom, beloved Akiyam and Akwath. It's just Bayan back again through the spirit, power, mercy, and grace of our power, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And I just want to get into a brief live stream. I will see, where the spirit leads me, but I do have some information I want to bring out regarding what we're seeing, on the world stage right now with, the Medes, which is Russia, all right, and these Persians, these Elamites, which is, Iran. All right, what we're witnessing with the conflict between the small hats, Babylon the Great, all right, and Iran, all right, with Russia playing a major role in this thing, is history repeating itself, bro. All right, history is repeating itself. It's what's occurring. All right, and we're going to show you that through the spirit. But before we get into that, all right, what we're witnessing, let me get this precept real quick. All right, and we're going to have a few videos I want to share with you, beloved Akiyam and Akwath. We're going to tap into some information and just pretty much bring us up to date to where we are right now with the conflict that's going on right now in Western Asia. Pretty much just reporting, pretty much through the spirit, making sure we're all tuned into, the reality of what's going on. Because what we got to understand is that what's happening right now, okay, with this tension, all right, with this Third World War tension, all right, this is, again, the Third World War, all right, it's pretty much going to draw in the previous prophecies. The prophecy of World War III is going to draw in the charagma, economic downfall, Jacob's trouble, all that, bro. Because again, what's happening right now, hey, again, I made the mention at camp yesterday, and I'm sure you, beloved Akiyam and Akwath, are experiencing it as well in your area. Gas is already going up. Gas is already going up. And it's only, week 1.5? Gas is already going up, bro. All right? So you better believe in about a month, this thing's going to take a turn for the worse, bro. All right? It's going to get worse and worse, bro. All right? Now, check this out. Let's go here real quick through the spirit. Let's go to, hey, but this is what we want. This is what we need. All right? This is what we want, and this is what we need. Now, real quick, this is the book of Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 22, and it reads, "A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction," bro. And what's going to culminate with these tensions and with these conflicts is the Third World's War. It's going to come, even if it quiets down, even with what's happening now quiets down. It's not going to go away. All right, for lack of better words. All right, it's leading to the buildup. All right, it's leading to the buildup, and hey, you already know those Iranians, bro. They got that red flag erected. All right, they're in the spirit of the wild boar. They're not going anywhere fast at this time. But needless to say, how is the hammer, which is Babylon the Great, aka America, of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How was Babylon become a desolation among the nations, bro? And ultimately, it's going to be through the spirit power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He's the one that's laying the snare for this dude. All right, the Lord is the one that's gathering the nations. He's the one that's putting it on the hearts of these kings, all right, to come up against Babylon. You see? So it's the Lord ultimately, But needless to say, when you go into biblical prophecy, all right, Russia's going to lead the charge, right, in this assault on Babylon the Great, on this invasion, bro, on Babylon. Russia's going to lead that charge. They're going to be assisting these smaller nations. All right, from what we understand, Russia has been working side by side with Iran as far as sharing information, certain surveillance and information to help target, Israeli and Babylon, America troops and stuff, man. Those bases or what have you. Yeah, man. Again, all biblical prophecy. We're gonna show you. Look, I have laid a snare for thee. See, I have laid a snare for thee. The Lord has laid a snare trap for Babylon, bro. Look, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon. Thou was not aware through the pride, all right, through their terribleness, all right. They don't see the reality behind this big L, all right, they're about to catch. Look, O Babylon, and thou was not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh, bro. All right. Now, what I want to do is play this first video real quick. All right, because China is another superpower. All right, and China is allied with Iran. All right, they're supplying Iran with resources as well. All right, Babylon the Great has taken a bite, a bite of this tension. They've taken a bite that they can't chew this. They can't chew what they just took a bite from. They can't chew it. It's too much. But this is how it plays out. Where the hell is this video, man? Oh, here it goes. All right, this is fair use, fair use. I'm not making any monetary gain for this video. This is for educational purposes only. All right, and for the sake of prophecy. Bear with me. Okay, I'm not pause. Fair use, fair use. I'm going to just speed it up a little bit. Take it about a quarter. Let's see here. All right. Enlarging this. Turn this volume up.
Let's bring in Victor Gao. He's the chair professor at Suzhou University and joins us from Beijing. Victor, welcome to the program. Can China play a constructive role in diffusing this crisis?
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, indeed, China is playing a very important and constructive role right now when war has already broken out. And this war was not started by Iran. It is started by Israel, coupled with the United States. So the United States and Israel are engaged in this war of aggression against Iran, violating Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And the Chinese government emphasized that Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity should be fully respected. And China is calling for de-escalation and ceasefire immediately, because otherwise you do not know how much evil this whole situation may degenerate in, because this may degenerate into a regional war or even with more global implications, because first of all, energy security will be undermined, and it may also lead to a big financial crisis. So the world itself will suffer the consequences of this unwanted war launched by the United States and Israel against a sovereign country. And Iran is now exercising full right of self-defense against the aggressors.
So Victor, what about when it comes to...
Now, real quick, I just want to make a mention. See, he mentioned the financial dilemma it can bring, economic dilemma. Okay, this is the reality of what this can cause. Why? Because right now, the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. All right, now over 20% of the oil globally goes through that strait and gets distributed all throughout the world, bro. So this is gonna affect the earth globally. Every economy is gonna be affected. All right, and we know Babylon the Great ain't looking too good right about now. All right, so again, when we understand this is all set up by design. There's a saying in the world that all wars are bankers' wars, but unbeknownst to these elite, all right, they're in a position where the Lord's put them where they're gonna fall into a hole, no matter what they do. All right, it's not gonna play out for them this time around. This game that they play, where they try to manipulate the situation in efforts to get their way, it's not gonna play out. All right, there's gonna be no climbing out of this pit. All right, the one they're gonna dig for themselves. You see, ultimately, again, prophecy's coming into its perfection, bro. And we're coming into some dark time. This could lead us into the eschatology of things, bro. Regarding 2nd Ezra 15 and 16, bro. Okay, this can bring this could very well likely take it there. You know, even if it does slow down out there, and hey, it could bring enough damage to where, you know, it transitions, man. This thing transitions, bro. You see, this is the reality, man. This is it. You know, so through the spirit, you know, this is why we're measuring the time so diligently. This is why we're watching what's going on over there, because ultimately, every week that goes by and it doesn't stop, hey, that's bringing us that much closer to the reality of an economic downfall, bro. All right, because again, my oil prices are already going up in my area. 144, Kala Yahaba Shim Yahweh Shai. That's the spirit. 1044 where I'm at. But anyways, I'm gonna let this video play.
International.
I'm gonna let this video play.
Country, and Iran is now exercising full right of self-defense against the aggressors.
So, Victor, what about when it comes to international law and UN Charter? Do these military actions by U.S. and Israel violate those?
Absolutely. I think in this particular case, Israel committed act of aggression against Iran, and the United States aided and abetted Israel and joined in this act of aggression against Iran. By international law, there should be no doubt that Iran is under attack and is suffering the consequences of this aggression. And I think Iran has full justification to fight back. Now, several countries, including Prime Minister of Britain, said Iran has been attacking several other countries. It's because these countries host U.S. military bases. And from these military bases, acts of aggression has been committed by the U.S. troops and military facilities based in these countries. And I think by international law, Iran has full justification to strike back. But of crucial importance is what China is calling for: de-escalation and ceasefire, and go back to the negotiation table. It is truly a double standard for the United States to engage in negotiation all the time until the moment they struck at Iran. So I think this has destroyed and undermined the trust the United States need to possess as a major power.
Yeah, you make a good point, because the last time Israel and United States hit Iran, they were also in the middle of negotiations back in June, with the Omanis playing the role of the mediators. And Oman's foreign minister gave a number of interviews, and he said he was optimistic that the two sides could work something out and avert a military crisis. Let me move on to the United Nations Security Council. What can we expect from the UNSC? What should we expect? And can they, at this point, really do anything? Victor, you know, there's a lot of people that say the UN has become rather irrelevant. They say a lot of things, but nothing really ever happens.
Well, I think the United Nations Security Council need to come into an immediate emergency session right away to deliberate about this particular war of aggression against Iran. However, I don't think it is realistic to expect anything substantive coming out of the Security Council, because the United Nations will definitely exercise its veto power. We tend to blame the United Nations for the deadlock, for the inefficiency. However, allow me to emphasize, the United Nations, especially the Security Council, have at least performed well in preventing the outbreak of a third world war. To that extent, I think, despite of all its imperfections, the United Nations, including the Security Council, have done its job. And I hope what Israel and the United States are doing right now, committing acts of aggression against Iran, will not lead to regional conflict or even global warfare, which may eventually lead to the Third World War.
What damage was likely?
And that's where it's going. They're going to lead to the Third World War. One way, shape, form, or fashion is going to lead to the Third World War. And another thing, right? Qatar, the reason why those U.S. bases are being hit, you know, all through the region of the Persian Gulf, you know, is because, again, Iran is crippling, all right, any ability for the Israelis in America to be able to retaliate, man. And they're bombing them, but the reason why they're bombing those Persian Gulf areas is because, again, there's you know, U.S. bases there, you know, and guess what? Qatar, there's articles out there. They're kind of hard to find because they're being blocked. But Qatar actually denied America access to their airspace to be able to attack Iran, because Iran already let them know, like, look, you know, you're on the list now, you know, and they're gonna stop bombing them. You see that? So to be specific, they're not bombing like, you know, Qatar as in that you know, them, they're the people. No, they're going for those U.S. bases, bro. This is what they're going for specifically. You see? But needless to say, You know, as mentioned before, as the title reads, history is repeating itself, man. All right, what we're seeing on the world stage right now, all right, is a refreshed version of what went down, and if we go back in time, all right, when you go into, real quick, you go into Daniel's vision, right? Because who took out the Neo-Babylonian Empire, right? The Medo-Persian Empire, man. The Persians and the Medes. And we're going to show you something real quick, right? You know, which we should already know, but it's through the Spirit, you know, just making this connection. You know what I'm saying? So when you go to Daniel's vision, right, Daniel 7, bear with me. The book of Daniel, chapter 7. I'm going to start from the top, right? The point's in 5, and I'm going to start from the top. Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from another. The first was like a lion, and this is talking about the Neo-Babylonian Empire, right? And the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings, right? And this is talking to, they had a statue in the Assyrian Babylonian Empire called the what was it, the Lemmasus? Let me see if I can look this up for you real quick. This is what this is talking to. Let me see. Let me see here. Here we go. They had a human-headed winged lion. This right here. You see it? Oh, it's better this way. So, continuing on in Daniel 7:4, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. You see it? Watch this. I beheld the wings thereof were plucked, right? And they were plucked by the Medo-Persians. We're gonna show you. And it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man. You see it? Right? And a man's heart was given to it. Check this out. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, right? And it raised itself on one side. All right, we know the Persians were higher than the Medes. It was the Medo-Persians, but the Persians under Cyrus the Great, all right, was higher than the Medes. All right, but check this out. That's what that's talking about. Look, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, all right, which is talking to Lydia, right, Egypt, and Babylon, which is the highlight of why we're even isolating this talking point right now, right? Look, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. Now, when you go into how Cyrus took down Babylon, right? I could break it down to you, but for edification, I looked it up so we can get some details, right? So, if you type in, right, the Medo-Persian Empire took over Babylon, it's going to tell you the Medo-Persian Empire, led by Cyrus the Great, conquered Babylon in October 539 BCE. This victory, which ended the Neo-Babylonian Empire, was achieved by diverting the Euphrates River to enter the city, all right? And marked the end of the Babylonian captivity for the Jews, bro, which is also heavy through the spirit when you look at it for what it is, all right? Because this marked the end of the Babylonian captivity for the Jews upon the invasion of the Medo-Persian Empire. Now, real quick, now we know the Medes in real time is Russia, okay? The Medes played a major role in assisting Persia. Matter of fact, when you look it up, look. Now, if you type in, did the Medes help Persia, right, take Babylon? it tells you this. Yes, okay, the Medes played a significant role in helping Persia take over Babylon in 539 BC. While Cyrus the Great of Persia led the conquest, right, his army was combined, right, forces of Medes and Persians. You see that? Let me see here. All right. That partnership indicated, often referred to as the Medo-Persian alliance, was crucial for the victory with the Medes contributed to the military, bro. All right. And this is what we're seeing all over again. As a matter of fact, but it's happening in a refreshed version. All right. As scripture say, let me get this scripture real quick, and I got another piece of information I want to share with you, beloved Akiyam and Akwad, man. Yo, so this time around, it's not gonna transition the way it did during Cyrus the Great, because there was little resistance, okay, upon Cyrus the Great taking Babylon, bro, via the Medo-Persian Empire. See, but this time there's gonna be resistance, but this time, when you fast forward, right, into current prophecy, all right, it's prophesied that Persia will once again, all right, come under the wing, all right, of this time the Medes will lead the charge, all right, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, all right, and Persia will come under the wing of the Medes. If you understand that Russia is the Medes, you see, Gog Magog, man. Okay, the prophecy is it's happening the same way, but just in its own time, in its way, in its own time. You see, now real quick, if you can see it, all right, now look, and this proves it right here, right? When you go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9, the thing that has been is that which it shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun, man. All right, there's no new thing under the sun. Right, now look real quick, let me get this clip for you, beloved Akim and Aqua. All right, making sense regarding the reality of history repeating itself, man. What is what all we're witnessing. And notice how that ended the captivity of the Jews, bro, upon that takeover, bro. And this is where we are right here, man. This is gonna culminate again. What's happening right now is gonna culminate into the Third World War, which is gonna lead to our deliverance, man. We are here. We are here. Let me get this video real quick. Let me get this video real quick. Right here. All right, because again, the Medes, which is Russia, is once again assisting the Persians. Look, now this is fair use, fair use. I'm not making any monetary gain off of this video. This is for educational purposes only. All right, fair use, fair use. And for the sake of prophecy, the title of this video reads, "The U.S. has learned that Iran is getting help from Russia to find U.S. targets, bro." Okay? History's repeating itself, man. It's just happening on a 2026 version. Okay? With a few players moved around again. The Medes is now, gonna lead the charge at the end, pursuant to future prophecy. It's just the way it goes. But it's the same attack. It's the same. What's the word I'm looking for? Let me see here. Bear with me. I want to just speed this up a little bit. All right, check this out. Let me turn this volume up.
Iran has been firing missiles and drones around the Middle East during the nearly week-long war. I'm Kristen Reddington.
I'm Ryan Gannaday, in for Ariana tonight. Thanks for joining us at 4. We're now learning Iran is getting help from Russia to find targets. Erica Brown reports from the White House.
CBS News has learned Iranian intelligence may have been able to track the movements of U.S. forces in the days before a retaliatory strike killed U.S. service members in Kuwait. According to a U.S. Army memo, the troops had just recently been moved in anticipation of attacks.
As we built up offensive combat power, we moved the vast majority of American troops, over 90% of Americans that were on our bases, what we say off the X. out of the range of Iranian fire.
Multiple sources have also confirmed to CBS News a Washington Post report that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran about U.S. positions, but the White House downplayed concerns Friday on any potential impact.
It clearly is not making a difference with respect to the military operations in Iran because we are completely decimating them.
President Trump met with defense.
And we know that's a lie. All right, and that's all you're going to get from Western media. You're going to get lies. All right, the narrative they're going to paint is that they're decimating, okay, those Iranians. But that's not according to Eastern news feeds. Okay? And I got another video to prove that too. Lord, we're going to play it after this. All right, going into a professor that's out there in Tehran. And he knows exactly what's going on firsthand. Okay? And it's contrary to what old girl just said. You know, so hey, watch out for this Western news, man. There's a lot of lies being filtered through the Western news media, bro. All right? Which is all in efforts to deceive you people over here, man. You know? Let's go. Let's get a little bit more. I mean, let me get a little bit. Let me just, you know what? Yeah, let's get a little bit. It's only 50 seconds left.
Secretary Pete Hegseth and the lead.
It clearly is not making a difference with respect to the military operations in Iran because we are completely decimating them.
President Trump met with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the leading American defense contractors as the commander-in-chief looks to accelerate weapons production.
He'll be speaking directly with these defense contractors, but of course, as the president has maintained, we have more than enough ammunitions, weapons, stockpiles to achieve the objectives of Operation Epic Fury.
The White House says the U.S. is still on track for a 4 to 6 week campaign against Iran. Iran's president said other countries have tried to begin mediation efforts. President Trump responded saying, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender and the selection of a great and acceptable leader. The president says he wants the U.
Another lie. All right, you're going to find out with the next video we're going to play. Okay, Iran's not trying to stop. Okay, again, they got that red flag erected, which that symbolizes they want blood, man. Okay, and you're going to, again, watch when we play this next video. That's another lie right there, bro. Okay, just again, and that's all in efforts to display some type of dominance. Like, no, we're not going to stop until you change up your leadership, X, Y, and Z. No, in reality, you want them to stop, but they're not in a position to stop. They're not hearkening, bro. Again, Iran's in that wild boar spirit. And the beloved brother Yashamaf, the beloved priest out of Mississippi, you know, I mean, he may still be live. I was listening to his live, you know, before I started my live through the spirit. And the brother had made mention that, hey, and it makes sense that maybe Russia, you know, if Russia was to step in and tell Iran to fall back, it's highly likely they will. You know, which again will give Russia that glow on the world stage. Like, okay, that's him. They're them. They're him. You know, Jake being, I'm him. You know, Jake in the Hood. They got a little status. You know, their 3-year bid came out. You know, beat some niggas up and lock up. You know, and he's him. You know, these other nations will be looking at Russia like, yo, he's him. Yeah, okay. All right. And now put Russia on the level. You know, it'll be like, okay, so he's the okay. You know, and that could, you know, if that was to happen, that's how it would look. You know, because at this point, again, the truth behind this matter is that Iran is hell bent, okay, on making Babylon pay. Okay, and you're gonna see that when I show you this next clip. But let's get a couple more seconds of this, and we're moving on. They be lying like hell.
Quote, there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender, said other countries to begin mediation efforts. President Trump responded saying, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender and the selection of a great and acceptable leader. The president says he wants the U.S. to help select Iran's new leader to replace the Ayatollah Khamenei, who was killed in the first round of airstrikes. Erica Brown, 2 News, Nevada.
All right. Now, again, the whole reason why I played that video is what? Russia is helping Iran find U.S. targets. They're assisting them. All right. Just like, again, we brought it out. Let me go get it again. Regarding the ancient, all right, Medo-Persian Empire, right, and how they assisted in taking down Babylon. Look at, we typed in, did the Medes help Persia take Babylon? Yes, the Medes played a significant role in helping Persia take over Babylon, bro. They played a significant role. Just like how the Medes is playing a significant role now, which is Russia. This is not a coincidence, bro. All right, this is the furthest thing from a coincidence, bro. All right, it's going down. Okay. Now, real quick, let me play this clip. As a matter of fact, before I do, let me go get this precept. Let's intercept this real quick with a precept. Because again, when we fast forward to future prophecy, right, where we stand today, again, the Medes will still be in the mix, but this time they'll be the major player. Assisting Persia still, but being a guard unto them other than vice versa. You see? Because again, the Persians led that charge against the Neo-Babylonians. Check this out. Ezekiel 38. Right? And I'm going to start from verse 1. And the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, and the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. All right? Russia is not anything special as far as the Lord showing them favor. The Lord's using them as a tool to fulfill his will. All right? That must be understood. The Lord's against them too. They're Edomites. Okay? The Lord's weaponizing them is what he's doing. And efforts to pretty much just take down the Edomites. He's using Edomites to take down Edomites. They're all gonna come crashing down ultimately. But anyways, continuing on, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, which is pretty much turning them back into that warristic, that warrioristic, USSR spirit. Okay? Armed them up with a stockpile that out of this world stockpile, bro. Okay? Weapons on some, the Satan 1, the Satan 2, they're just on another level. But it's the Lord that set him up. The Lord set this thing up. You see, the Lord set up the stage. Same thing with Iran. You see, the reason why Iran was on the back burner for so long and wasn't making no noise is because they were setting up shop since Iraq. All right? Getting things put together, getting all the, getting the scene put together, empty buildings, making all the power moves they had to make, knowing that at some point the West was going to come at them. Okay? Getting their stockpiles built up, planning everything out, hiding all their stuff, deep under mountains, bro. Check this out, right? Continuing on, Ezekiel 38:4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, right? Horses and horsemen, all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even of great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Jeremiah 50:9. All right, there's a assembly of great nations that are going to be coming with the land of the north, man. All right, BRICS nations, even some of Babylon's allies pursuant to Revelations 17. Okay, that's how this thing's going to play out. Look at first nation on the list is Persia. Who's Persia? The Carmanians. Who are the Carmanians? Iran. Okay. Now, when you go, and we know this, but when you go into, for those, naysayers, you already know, right? When you simply could look this stuff up, look at, are the Persians Elamites, man? Yeah. Let me see here. Salaki, I missed my, I clicked off my precept, the precept. All right, continuing on, look. Right? Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, them Hamite states, right? Them Hamite countries, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Okay, look at Gomer and all his bands, the house of Targamah, man, which is Turkey. All right, we're going to see this thing transition. Okay? Because ultimately, hey, look at this. There's news out there, article, that Israel, them small hats, actually are not going to, they're like, Target is the new Iran, is the next Iran. You see, pretty much positioning pretty much positioning Turkey in a position where they're like, okay, what do you think they're going to do, man? They're going to ride with the monster, man. Russia. Ultimately, that's what's going to play out as we're reading. Right? Look at, And if you look at geographically, Turkey's in the north, over there in the Western Asia. That's why it says Togama, the north quarters, right? And all his bands, man, you see? And many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company, man, talking to Gog, Magog, talking to Russia, right? That are assembled with thee, and be thou a guard unto them. You see? So Russia's being a guard unto these smaller countries, man. Okay? They're playing a major role in Iran's execution against Israel and Babylon, man. Playing a major role. Now let's go here. Again, just like in the days of old. Hence, history is repeating itself. All right? Let's get this video real quick. Now, this is the last video I got for you, beloved Akiyam and Akwal, real quick, just to make it's gonna make everything make sense. Again, this is fair use, fair use. I'm not making any monetary gain off of this video. It's for the sake of edification and prophecy. Bear with me. Let me see something real quick. Now, I caught one of this video. Let me see here. I caught one of this video from the beloved brother Isaiah. At the GMS Orlando, he had played this a couple days ago. And I had tracked down the video through the spirit. I told myself I'm going to have to touch on that, Lord willing. Heavy. All right, check this out.
Could you explain to me, how do you think the Iranian military strategy...
Now, real quick, old boy Mohammed right here, he's a professor. He's out there in Tehran. All right? So he has a stance of, you know, valuable information. So just check it out.
Now playing out.
It's working quite well. Iran is hammering the Israeli regime in retaliation for its atrocities and its unprovoked war, and is hammering U.S. positions across the Persian Gulf region for its atrocities and the unprovoked war. And there's been no let-up in Iranian responses, and that is because Iranian missile and drone bases are all deep underground and inaccessible to the United States and the Israeli regime. And that's why they take revenge on ordinary Iranians. They've been bombing Tehran and other cities, destroying homes, destroying hospitals, destroying schools, slaughtering children. In one instance, they murdered 165 girls, young girls, at an elementary school. They've been buried today. So since they cannot defeat the Iranian military, they take their revenge on ordinary Iranians.
It's clearly causing chaos in the Gulf states, particularly with the attacks on energy facilities. Is that part of the Iranian strategy to wage economic war as well?
No, Iran has not taken any responsibility for the strikes on the energy facilities, for example, in Saudi Arabia. That could be something carried out by the Israeli regime. But the Iranians have told tankers that they are not allowed to leave the Strait of Hormuz. And when these Arab regimes in the Persian Gulf, when they give the United States military bases to use against Iran, then there are consequences. They cannot have their cake and eat it too. They cannot participate in aggression against Iran alongside this Epstein coalition and then sit back and say we're neutral.
Right, but you're not denying the other attacks, are you, in other Gulf countries which do affect energy supplies, and the oil price has gone up significantly. So I mean, that does seem to be part of the Iranian military strategy, isn't it? I mean, to try and bring them into the war and regionalize it.
No, Iran has been targeting U.S. assets in the Persian Gulf, and those assets could be anything that's linked to the United States. The United States is bombing hospitals. The United States is bombing schools. The United States is bombing Iranian national radio and television alongside the Israeli regime. So U.S. assets in the Persian Gulf, they too will be attacked. But assets that belong to the states in the Persian Gulf region, they have not been touched by the Iranians. However, if they host U.S. forces, because many of the soldiers have left their bases and been taken to hotels, the Iranians will target them. So at the end of the day, if they want this problem to end, they have to expel soldiers of the Epstein regime.
Now, we understand that the Assembly of Experts is trying to appoint a new supreme leader. Could a new leader, do you think, negotiate with Trump and agree to his terms?
No. Iran is not interested in negotiating with Trump or the US regime. Iran is going to punish the United States, and we are in the process of doing it. This regime in Washington has tried to cross a bridge that's a bridge too far, and they're messing with the wrong country. We're not Venezuela, we're not Iraq, we're not Libya, we're not Afghanistan, and we're not Syria. This is the Islamic Republic of Iran, and we will make sure that the United States regrets the aggression against the Iranian people and the slaughter of children and the slaughter of innocent civilians and the murder of the leader. These are crimes against humanity, and the United States and its allies have imposed the law of the jungle upon the world, and they will come to regret it.
But Iran is not a military superpower either, and we are seeing the vast majority of drones and missiles being shot down by air defenses. I mean, surely Iran cannot win a military war, and therefore has to go for some other kind of strategy in coming to a settlement.
Iran will defeat the United States. Time will tell. And our drones that are being fired are very old drones. Our missiles that are being fired are very old missiles. They're very inexpensive. And Americans are using up very expensive air defense systems. The Iranians know exactly what they're doing. We haven't even begun using our latest technology, and most of Iran's underground bases have not even been used yet. They have not even been opened up for operation. The Iranians have been planning for this day ever since the invasion of Iraq. They knew that at some point the Epstein regime will go after Iranians, and therefore they've been preparing themselves for many years. We are fighting for our homeland and our sovereignty and our independence, and our crime is that we oppose the genocide that the British regime and the American regime and Western regimes have been supporting. And we are on the right side of history, and the United States is the aggressor, and we will punish the aggressor and make it regret its crimes against humanity.
What percentage of it?
Now, there's about 8 more minutes of that video, but I'm going to leave it right there. Okay? As you can see, on the contrary, all right, on the contrary, based off what's being said over here in the West, all right, hey, them Iranians don't want to negotiate shit. All right, they're not trying to sit down at no table and talk about no peace treaties, no nothing. They're dead set on retaliation. Okay, from some inside scoop information. This is the reality of what's happening. Okay, showing you that Babylon can't simmer them down. You see, there's no peace treaties, bro. And again, they've been planning this thing out. They've been planning this thing out, bro. This is of the Lord, is what's critical to understand. This is of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, bro. Okay, and the one thing that he said, the last thing he said here, which is it's true. Again, he said that we are on the right side of history. According to biblical prophecy, that is 100% correct. Because when you go into the prophecies, let's go. I'm going to leave you with this through the Spirit. Okay? Again, pursuant to the days of old with the Neo-Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persians took them out. Pursuant to future prophecy, where we stand today, the Medo-Persians, all right, are going to take Babylon out. Again, because Persia is going to be part of that faction that's being led by Russia. Okay? You see it? Look, watch this. Now, when you go here, now real quick, when you go to the book of Isaiah chapter 21, the heading reads, right? And I'm going to read it verbatim. God commands that Babylon be taken. All right? God commands, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua commands that Babylon be taken, bro. And I'm going to get this, in the NLT. And again, the beloved brother brought this out as well. I think I glanced down on the comment board before I started my live. Right? Real quick, right? Isaiah 21:2, it reads this. I see a terrifying vision, which is a vision of prophecy, man, oracle. Right? Hey, a terrible vision from the from the east, right? Pursuant to matter of fact, we'll close out with that. Pursuant to 2nd Esdras. Look, I see a terrifying vision. I see the betrayer betraying, right? The destroyer destroying Babylon the Great. Right? All they've done is destroyed and betrayed, lied and deceived, bro. Hey, this is why the Iranians are like, look, we ain't negotiating none. They look at this regime like barbarians. Old boy's gonna say it. If I let that video play out, a little bit more. He looks at they look at this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna let the video play out a little bit more, and then I'm gonna close out with the second Ezra. Look, it says, "Go ahead, you Elamites." Who's Elam? The Persians, bro. Look, when you go, and we know this, but for you new listeners that may not know, again, all you gotta do is look this stuff up. If you type in, let me see here, are the Persians Elamites? You should know this, but for new listeners, they may not. Right? Google overview. Check this out. Right? Elamites were a distinct pre-Iranian civilization in southwestern Iran. It's talking to the Iranians, bro. Let's go back. Okay? Continuing on. The Lord said, what? Go ahead, you Elamites and Medes. Attack and lay siege. I will make an end to all the groaning Babylon cause, bro. Okay? So what old boy Muhammad the professor said regarding them being on the right side of history, that's right. That's correct. Because it's of the Lord, though. The Lord is granting them that access to be on the right side of history because they're on the right side of prophecy, is all it is. Okay? But at the end of the day, they're on the wrong side. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to be okay. Because ultimately, all you heathen are going into captivity. Okay? Because this is ushering in our Lord Yahushua, bro. All these major events taking place on this earth right here. Like, man, you niggas ain't going nowhere after this. All right? Again, because, hey, we ain't on nobody's side, bro. Don't get it twisted. You know, individuals that be me in the background thinking that we on the Elamites team. Nah, man. We're on prophecy side. We're on the side of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Okay? And we just, hey, we speak it for what it is. But we're on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua's side, bro. Okay, we clapping chains and feathers of iron on all you heathen, bro. You know, but for the sake of prophecy, hey, he's right. Listen.
Missile stop.
And we will punish the aggressor and make it regret its crimes against humanity.
What percentage of Iran's missile stocks remain?
The vast majority.
Because after last year's war, it was estimated that Iran had used up around 40% of its missiles. Are you saying that was replenished in the last few months?
Those numbers were always fake. Those numbers are provided by the Israeli regime to the media in order to convince foolish Americans that war against Iran is simple. This war was supposed to end in a day or two. The 12-day war was supposed to bring Iran down like a house of cards. That failed, this failed, and now the United States will have to pay the price. And if the United States escalates, that will mean that the most sensitive region in the world, the Persian Gulf, where a quarter of the world's energy comes from, everything could be destroyed. And if that happens, it doesn't even matter if the Strait of Hormuz is open or closed, because there will be no oil or gas, and there will be no tankers. For Iran, this is a fight for survival. For the United States, this is a war of choice, a choice that has been imposed upon the American people by the Epstein class. We will expel the United States from our homeland, and we'll make sure that the United States never again thinks about aggression against our country. And we will not allow the Israeli regime to behave with impunity and to continue genocide against the Palestinian people.
Isn't the truth, though, that a lot of Iranian people want to see this government toppled? We saw tens of thousands taking to the streets just weeks ago, and many thousands of people were killed by the security forces. So public opinion is divided on this.
Don't believe your propaganda. That's silly.
I've
already had an interview. I've already spoken with your colleague. Though the people who were killed, 3,117 people were killed. Hundreds were police officers and people who were patrolling the streets as volunteers, and hundreds of others were ordinary people that were murdered by these militants and these terrorists who were using weapons to kill. In your country, if they kill a single police officer, there'll be outrage. Here, they killed hundreds, including the volunteers. So this was no peaceful protest. And you know quite well, because I know you follow these things. In Iran, on February the 12th, we had millions of people on the streets of Tehran and tens of millions across the country rallying against the rioters. And on February the 11th, on the 47th anniversary of the revolution, we had millions of people again on the streets of Tehran and tens of millions across the country. And as we're speaking, across the country, as we're speaking now, you have millions of people in the streets of Tehran under bombardment, and in other cities under bombardment, commemorating the martyr Ayatollah Khamenei. So you can pretend all you want that Iranians want their country to be bombed. But at the end of the day, your policymakers, by believing their own propaganda, are going to hit their head once again against a brick wall. But this time, the price will be very high, and I think it will bring about a change in global politics.
I'm not denying that huge numbers of people have come out in support of the government, but from your own account of the way people have been killed and were fighting in the streets effectively, the country is clearly divided to some degree, and there are many people who do not support the government. But I wonder, often in wartime, public opinion changes, and the acts of an outside aggressor can change public opinion, and I just wonder whether you think that might happen in Iran.
No, the strong majority of Iranians, even according to polls taken by the University of Maryland, for example, in the past, I don't know if they still carry out polls, but it shows that the strong majority of Iranians support the Constitution. And now that the United States is murdering Iranians, many of those youngsters who are on the streets, who believe the fake Western narratives about human rights and dignity and freedom, are watching children being slaughtered, and Western media is ignoring it, and Western governments are not even apologizing for it. And the British and the German regime, the German chancellor says there must be a regime change in Iran. The German chancellor must first apologize to the people of Iran for giving Saddam Hussein chemical weapons to use against us that killed so many thousands of people. The German regime has no credibility and is in no position to talk about Iran. And the divisions that exist right now in your country and the United States are far greater than the divisions that exist in Iran. The people of Iran are united, and we will see that the United States will fail, and the United States will pay a heavy price. And ultimately, people will see that the emperor has no clothes. The United States bullies country after country. It strangles Cuba. It takes the people of Venezuela hostage. It imposes Al-Qaeda rule on the people of Syria. Iran was a bridge too far. Iran will show the Americans that they're messing with the wrong country.
What about the competence, though, of your security apparatus? I mean, after the killing of the Ayatollah with so many senior figures, we have now seen that, again, the clerics have met in the Assembly of Experts building in Qom, and that has also been bombed. I mean, does it not strike you as very odd that senior Iranian figures are still meeting in known places where they can be targeted?
No one was in that building. Why do you believe this nonsense? And senior military figures, except for in the office of the leader, a number of people who were killed, no one else was killed. And Ayatollah Khamenei said that I'm going to remain in my house because many people who are struggling cannot leave their homes. And I will stay here till the end because of these people. And he stayed, and he was martyred. That's not something that your leader would ever do. But in any case, we are seeing the Iranian armed forces effectively pushing back against the sinister superpower of our time and against this genocidal Zionist regime that continues to slaughter people in Gaza, in Palestine, and in Lebanon. Simultaneously, they're waging a war, and Iran is pushing them back. At the same time, we see that the government, despite the maximum pressure sanctions, we see that people have food, that there are no queues. So that is pretty significant, I must say. And your government, which has no sanctions and has no war, the regime in London is not proving to be very efficient nor very popular.
Just finally, I mean, the United States President and the Israeli Prime Minister killed the Iranian Supreme Leader. Will it now be the aim of the Iranian military and all its networks around the world to take their revenge on those individuals?
What the United States did was a crime against humanity. What it is doing is a crime against humanity. We have no expectations from the West, nor the Western media. Western elites for us are a bunch of worthless barbarians. Iranians will protect themselves. I do not know what Iran will do or its allies will do across the world, but the entire world is sick and tired of the way in which the United States and its proxies in Europe behave. It's a rogue regime. As we speak, they are strangling the people of Cuba. They're preventing food from getting in. I don't see any outrage in the Western media. Why? Because the Western media is just as worthless as Western elites.
We'll leave it there, Mohammed.
You see that? So, hey, the East is looking at the West like some barbarians, bro. And these niggas are barbaric, bro. Esau's a barbarian. Okay? His history testifies against him regarding that. Okay? But now, the truth is starting to come to the light. It's what's happening, bro. Okay? We are, man, this is beautiful, bro. All right? And as you can see, there's no chill. All right? And these Persians, bro, they're gun-ho. I'm clapping back. They're not stopping. All right? Which, again, is speaking of prophecy, man. All right? They're in that wild boar spirit. You see? We'll close out with that. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. in chapter 15 and verse 28, and it reads this: Behold, a horrible vision, all right, and the appearance thereof from the east, man. And as we understand, all right, the Lord's going to gather the nations in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, bro, the valley of his judgment. He's out there, right there out there in Saudi Arabia, right, between the Red Sea and the Euphrates River, man. All right, this is where these nations are being gathered, man. All right, check this out. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, bro. We're just talking to Ishmael. All right, those Gulf states. You see, and again, we made the mention, and there's articles out there. Qatar is not allowing Babylon to use their airspace, bro. And you heard what he said. Old boys, Muhammad had made the mention that if they're harboring American troops in hotels, they will be targeted. They're targeting Babylonians. That's why these Gulf states are in the position where they're just like, you know what? You know what? Because this is prophecy, though. It's prophecy that this would happen right here. What we're reading right here. Check this out. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. And understand this, they're going to be stopped too. Again, all these heathen are going to be stopped ultimately. Well, we're just seeing the war theater play out in efforts to fulfill prophecy. All right, they're just characters in the movie. But check it out. Also, the Carmanians, we're just talking to Iran, those Persians, right? Also, the Carmanians raging in wrath, and they're displaying it right now. They're displaying that wrath. Shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And go look up a wild boar when it's put in the position of a straight, half engine, and how it moves. All right. Look at, and with great power shall they come, all right, and join battle with them, right, with the dragons of Arabia, man. They're gonna join battle. They're gonna come together, bro. Look at, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, bro, which is Babylon the Great. All right, these Edomites are the modern day Assyrians, bro. Okay, this is the reality, man, of what's going down and what's happening. We're seeing prophecy play out right before our eyes, man. All right, and there's no, it's not going to stop. It's going to continue to manifest into its perfection, bro. All right, and again, I want to highlight before I close out. When you look into the Neo-Babylonian Empire, upon its siege from the Medo-Persians, that marked the end of the Jews' captivity, bro, in Babylon. All right? History is repeating itself, bro. We're witnessing the stages of our salvation coming into the play, man. Very exciting times, beloved Akim and Akwaf. And we are here. We are at the end of all things. All right, and salvation is close, man. Salvation is close. Esau's looking crazy. All right, all of his plans are crumbling. And ultimately, he's about to fall into that same ditch that he made. All right, stay prayed up, beloved Akim and Akwaf. Fast as well as pray. Our Savior, Yahweh Shai, is on his way, man. All right, Lord willing, you were edified. Abaratazah, you were spiritually fed through the spirit power and grace of our power, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, you were informed. We're going to keep tracking this thing. We're going to keep bringing out, information, pretty much, keeping us all up to date on what's going on, with these, with this buildup. And again, what's going on over there is gonna pretty much, it's a cause and effect type of situation. It's a cause and effect. This what's going on over there is gonna affect a lot more, all right, than the average individual that doesn't know what the hell is going on can imagine. All right, this is gonna cause a lot more than what the average person out there can imagine. But we know, so we're gonna keep a close eye on this through the spirit. But yeah, the water, beloved Akim and Akwaf, for tuning in. The water for your precepts. All right, you beloved brother, and that's the spirit brother. I had actually posted this. Well, not posted it, but I brought this out. We'll close out with it. Let's read it. This is from the brother Ataiza Wam, Hopeful Leg 144, Shalom Mak, Yahweh Shim Yashai Brakatah, and Shalom to you, beloved Akim and Akwaf, that are tuning in and that are going to tune in later. Shalom, Yahweh Shim Yashai Brakatam. And let's close out with this. Let's bring it back out. Right? From the brother Ataiza Wam, Hopeful Leg 144, Jeremiah 15:22, a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer, Babylon the Great America of the whole earth, cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? And again, we made the mention earlier, it's going to come through the form of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, all right, working on behalf of these heathen nations, these other heathen nations, right, putting the spirit on them, to pinpoint and target this place, starting with Russia, all right, give them the weapons they need, right, position them where they need to be positioned, right, all in efforts for this place to be taken, man, all right, and ultimately, the rest of you heathens be taken, because that's what this is what this is going to culminate into, all right, because again, this is, hey, Yahweh Shai is coming, man. Yahweh Shai is coming. All right, and pursuing the Revelations 19, hey, he's coming for all the crowns of you heathen. All you heathen will be stopped. All right, we're not pro Iran, we're not pro Palestine, we're not pro nobody. All right, we're pro Yahweh. Well, we are pro Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. We're not pro none of you heathen, man. All right, again, we're just telling it what it is. We're just telling you what it is, man. That's all we're doing. All right, we are pro Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay, straight up, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the beloved elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. Hey, Lord willing, you beloved Akim and Akwath will edify. Till next time, beloved Akim and Akwath. Till next time, hey, Shalom.